Hello, everybody. I hope you all had a good 2025. Mine was interesting, but we're not here to unpack all of that. Here are my ratings for all the books I've read this year. Starting off with 3 stars, not for me. This year I was spared any god awful books. Last year I was not so lucky. The first book I have on this tier is Simon vs. the Homo sapien Agenda. This tells the story of a closeted teenager being blackmailed by a fellow classmate. I didn't really care for this one. I think you can tell that the author is a therapist and a straight woman, not a queer teenage boy. I found it a bit cliche and stereotypical with the high school tropes and representations. I also watched Love, Simon, the movie that was based off this book. It was okay. I think there are better queer books and movies. 2.5 out of 5 stars. Next is Enrique's Journey. This one was tough because I really wanted to like it. Enrique's Journey is a biography on a Honduran boy named Enrique and his journey to find his mother in the United States. I think stories like this are really important, especially right now, but Enrique's was not the right story to tell. He's just seriously unlikable. Of course, we're talking about a real person, and of course, everyone has flaws. But this is supposed to be a book that gives perspective on undocumented migrants and helps people understand and empathize with them. Enrique should not be the face of that. He perpetuates stereotypes, is a bad son, boyfriend, and father, and is overall a really frustrating person. I was also bothered by the amount of times the author would give side stories about what was happening to female migrants and then switch back to Enrique's perspective. It felt like she was using female horror stories as shock value. I would rather she told the story of one of those girls rather than Enrique. 3 stars. Next is the good book tier. I'm not really going to dedicate a whole section to this tier because there are a few books on this, but they're all good. I enjoyed them and I would recommend them. Here's the really good book tier. I was going to do one large tier with this and the prior tier, but I wanted these books to stand out more. These are some of my favorite books this year, if it weren't for the top tier. I highly recommend the Red Queen series, Fahrenheit 451, and Animal Farm if you like dystopians, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks if you like Black history and science, Mexican Gothic and What Moves the Dead if you like Gothic literature, and finally, Braiding Sweetgrass if you like indigenous stories and ecology. Here is the final tier, my absolute favorite books this year, and some of my favorite books of all time, starting with The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X. Arpan. This book was devastating and beautiful. After losing her mother to depression, Lee Sanders travels to Taiwan to meet her mother's family and learn about her culture as she grapples with grief, frustration, and loneliness. I'm getting a little teary just talking about it. As someone who struggles with depression, this book was a great representation of the disorder, and honestly a little hard to read because of how well it was written. But it was a really good book, and it makes you want to hug your mom. 5 out of 5 stars. Equally devastating and beautiful was Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. I'm a huge fan of the Hunger Games series, so I was really excited to read this one. Collins then proceeded to throw a bunch of bricks at me. Sunrise on the Reaping is a prequel telling the story of Haymitch Abernathy and how he survived the Second Quarter Quell. I cannot emphasize how hard I cried at this book. Again, I had to go hug my mom. I'm really excited for the movie, but I'm glad I have a bit of time to recover and mentally prepare myself. 5 out of 5 stars. While I think the consensus across social media was that 2025 was a strange year, it was certainly a good year book-wise, and I hope you all have a happy reading journey in 2026.